What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Mark's Tech. I know I haven't released any new videos in like 2 weeks, but honestly, January has been super slow. Nothing's really come out or really been interesting to talk about. But in my defense, I have been trying to make this video for the longest time, but every single time I record and edit this video, a new piece of information comes out. So hopefully this is the final time that I'm going to do this. So the Galaxy S20 is almost at our doorstep. It's almost ringing the doorbell, and I'm super excited. Personally, I am more excited for the Galaxy S20 Ultra as opposed to the Galaxy S20, mainly because I love big phones, I love big batteries, and it seems like the S20 Ultra kind of has both. Speaking of the battery, as you guys know by now from all the leaks and the rumors, the S20 Ultra is going to have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which is insane. I mean, it's crazy that we have come to this, but also we can't forget that with that huge insane battery, we also have a huge insane screen coming in at 6.9 inches. Jesus. And not only that, but it's going to have 120 hertz refresh rate and 5G connectivity if you do live in an area where you have 5G or your carrier supports 5G. If you don't, then you're just going to be using basic LTE. But I am a little bit concerned about the battery because, with that 120 hertz refresh rate, I was thinking the whole time, like, man, I hope Samsung makes this display dynamic. I hope they do dynamic switching, kind of like the iPad Pro. So, as you guys know, the iPad Pro also has 120 hertz refresh rate. But when you're watching a movie, for example, since most movies are shot in 24 frames per second, the screen refresh rate actually goes down to 24 frames per second. You don't need to be doing 60 frames per second on a 24 frames per second video. You're just going to be wasting battery at that point. And same thing, I think Fortnite actually released an update like 2 weeks ago or something where you can now play Fortnite on your iPad Pro at 120 frames per second. So the screen is obviously going to go up to 120 frames per second. Now obviously this is done to conserve battery life. But apparently with this new leak that's come out, I think a few days ago or a week ago, I've made this video so many times that I kind of lost track already. But apparently on the new Galaxy S20 and the S20 Ultra, you can only do either 60 or 120. You can't exactly, it's not dynamic. You have to pick either 60 or pick either 120 and use it at that. The phone's not out yet, and hopefully Samsung does make it dynamically switch. There's no reason not to. The Pixel 4 dynamically switches. The iPad Pro dynamically switches. Imagine if you're going to be using the S20 Ultra or the S20 full brightness, 120 hertz refresh rate, and if you got the 5G connectivity, imagine you using that as well. I imagine that battery is not going to last long. Now, in Samsung's defense, I'm not sure if this is true, but someone on Twitter told me that you can actually pick and choose which apps run at 60 and which apps run at 120. Now, if that's true, that's pretty good, but I don't think anyone is really going to go through the hassle of doing that. imagine this, right? You got the S20, you're super excited about it, you unbox it, you set it up, you wait for the phone to load, you wait for the phone to load all your apps, which in some cases is between 100 and 200 apps for some people. Some people even have more than that, which I don't know how, but some people do. Imagine that. And then you got to go through each and every single application to pick and choose which application uses what. It doesn't really make that much sense. Samsung, just have it dynamically switch. It really should not be a problem. Now, another thing that's coming to the S20 Ultra as opposed to the S20 and the S20 Plus is the S20 Ultra is going to have a stainless steel frame. That is amazing. I'm so happy Samsung is finally putting in stainless steel. Like, I have the S10 Plus right here, and I'm using a bumper case from Rhinoshield. And this thing, by the way, saved my butt a few days ago because there's a huge dent in the case itself because I dropped it by accident. Totally by accident. Now, aluminum is good because it's cheap. It's sort of durable, but it's very soft. So if you do drop a phone and it has aluminum, it's more than likely going to actually dent. And then iPhone, on the other hand, they've been using stainless steel, I think, since the iPhone 10, maybe even sooner than that. But I think the iPhone 10 is when they actually started stainless steel. It's just a very nice kind of premium material, and I'm super happy Samsung is putting that, even though it's only on the S20 Ultra. Again, these are rumors. But even though if it's only on the S20 Ultra, at least they're putting it into at least one of their phones. Now, another thing I'm excited for, obviously, is the camera. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I made a video like last month on the Xiaomi Mi Note 10, the phone that I had. It has a 108 megapixel camera. Now, the sensor isn't exactly going to be the same as the one on the Samsung, but you at least got to see a little glimpse of what Samsung could be doing with the 108 megapixel camera. But the downside of the Xiaomi device was that it had a Snapdragon 730G, which wasn't exactly the most powerful processor at the time, which like 2 months ago. So the photos kind of didn't look that good. Now, this could be due to the weak processor or the weak photo optimization. Whatever it is, Samsung is going to figure it out, and they're going to do a fantastic job with this upcoming phone. Now, some people are saying that they are worried about the low light performance of the S20 and the S20 Ultra because it's going to have that insane 108 megapixel camera. And as you guys know, the more you increase the megapixels, if that sensor size isn't growing along with it, each pixel is going to contain or is going to let in less light. And that's obviously going to lead to a darker photo. But that is, I mean, that would be true if we didn't have night mode, you know, like back before night mode was a thing. If you wanted a night photo, you would just take a night photo without going into night mode or without night mode being activated. But with night mode becoming very, very powerful to the point where it almost looks like it's daylight, I don't really think that 108 megapixels is going to make that much of a difference, because obviously Samsung is going to improve their night mode to help compensate for those pixels. I mean, I'm just spitballing over here, but I can't really imagine Samsung releasing a phone that's going to have worse night photos than the phone before it. It just doesn't make any sense. So people are kind of worried about that, but I don't think you guys should be. Now, the 108 megapixel camera is definitely a beast of itself, but let's not forget the 100 times digital zoom. I mean, I think it's the Huawei P30 Pro. It had 50x digital zoom, and you can practically see the moon using that phone. Now imagine 100 times. That's like, why? Like, that's so insane. Like, that's crazy. I mean, this is why I like Samsung. You know, people say Samsung has a lot of gimmicks in their phones, and maybe some of them are gimmicks, but when Samsung does something, they do it. Like, they really, really do it. I mean, I mean, 100 times. Like, why? I don't know why, but you damn right, I'm going to be testing that out the day I get the S20 Ultra. But what do you guys think about the 100x digital zoom? Do you think it's going to be useful? Do you think it's going to be good? That stabilization better be on point, because one little move, when you zoom into 100 times digital zoom, one little move you do, that's it. You're out of focus. You're out of shot. So their stabilization better be perfect. Also, the camera bump on the S20 Ultra, I hear, or the S20, by the way, I hear many people saying it looks ugly, but like, listen, man, like, we're getting to the point where not much is gonna change. Like, what else can you do on a phone, or at least a camera, to make it look good? Like, we are the product of what phones look like. We make the phones look the way they are, even though we don't design them. If we want a macro lens, if we want wide angle lens, ultra wide angle lens, telephoto lens, you know, a phone's only this thin. You're obviously going to have to make multiple cameras, and the more cameras that we ask for, obviously, you know, the design's going to look a little weird. But I think Samsung did the best with what they got, kind of what they got to work with. I think the camera bump looks good, and I don't really see why people are kind of bashing on it, saying it looks ugly. Even the old rumors, or the old renders, I should say, it looked fine. I didn't really see a problem with it. So I don't know, maybe when I get it in my hands, I'll think it's super ugly, but even if it is super ugly, I never look at the back of the phone anyway. Now, another thing that people aren't really happy about is the price. Now, the price kind of depends where you live on. Different countries pay different taxes. But you can expect the cheapest Galaxy S20 to be around $750 to $800. Nothing really new there. But that's starting out, by the way. That's for the 128 gig. But the S20 Ultra is going to be starting out roughly at $1,300. It's not really concrete yet. I don't, you know, it's just a rumor for now. but I can expect it to be at least starting out at 1300, which isn't bad because it comes with 5G. But if you guys want the 1TB model of the S20 Ultra, you're going to be expecting to pay at least $1,500, which is nuts. I mean, it's nuts because we all know in like 3 or 4 months it's going to cost like $900. That's just the risk of, you know, of buying Samsung phones. But as crazy as those prices are, it's not even that bad, to be honest, because Samsung is very kind of known for promotions and kind of giving you free goodies if you pre-order. Like with my Galaxy S10 Plus, I got the Galaxy Buds for free. With my Galaxy Note 10 Plus, I got $250 of store credit that I can use on Samsung, and I got a bunch of accessories that way. In fact, I think my coworker, back when the S9 was coming out, he pre-ordered the S9, and then his carrier store, Sprint, I think it was, gave him a free 50-inch 4K Samsung TV. I mean, carriers and Samsung themselves are going to have promotions for this phone, obviously. And even now, the promotion is if you get the if you pre-order the S20 Plus or the S20 Ultra, you get the Galaxy Buds Plus for free. And the price of the Galaxy Buds Plus isn't exactly known at the moment, but if they're going to be competing with the AirPods Pro, I can expect the Galaxy Buds Plus to be around $199. I doubt $250. I doubt they're going to put it that high, but I'm guessing $199. So you'll get that for free. Either way, it's not as bad as buying an iPhone. If you buy an iPhone, you don't really get anything with it. So I think Samsung is still expensive, but you get stuff with it. Now, in terms of RAM, the Galaxy S20 Ultra is expected to have 16 gigabytes of RAM. Like, see, this is what I mean. Samsung is just going over and beyond in every possible direction ever. Like, we're starting to see the law of diminishing returns. Like, for example, going from 4 gigabytes of RAM to 8 gigabytes of RAM, yeah, that's good. You can definitely notice that without even trying to notice it, right? But going from 12 gigs, which is already insane, to 16 gigabytes, what are you going to do to see that? You know what I'm saying? I think only if you're going to be using Samsung DeX, that's going to be your best bet to really see the true potential of 16 gigs of RAM. Unless you're going to open up like a million applications and you want them all to stay open. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. So the phones are coming out soon. Their Galaxy Unpacked, I think, is February 11th. In fact, let me double check real quick. Yeah, it's on February 11th, and usually they release the phone a few days after the Unpacked event. But apparently this one guy, or not one guy, one outlet, Frandroid, he said that the sales in France is going to start March 13th. I'm not entirely sure if that's just for France and the rest of the world is going to get it before France, or does that mean like the rest of the world is also going to be, you know, March 13th. I hope not. I really want it soon. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of worried about it because of the battery with that 120 hertz refresh rate. Obviously, people are going to want to use 120 hertz. That's like one of the biggest selling factors of this new upcoming Galaxy phone. So if you're going to be forced to stay on 60 to conserve battery life, that's, I don't know. Like, I don't like when companies throw great specs on a phone or great features, but then you're afraid to use those features because the battery is going to die. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this. Let me know in the comments section down below, guys. As always, I do read almost every single comment. So yeah, if you guys want to chat, hit me up down below. Well, guys, thanks for watching. As always, this was Mark from Mark's Tech, and adios.